Hello, 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 and welcome to another Shadowlands video. My name is Barokoshama, and today we're doing a very quick video for the recent dungeon and raid changes that are coming in this week's patch. Ooh, late night blue posts. Let's get into it. What are we talking about today? Well, there's a lot of dungeon nerfs, like a lot of them. So if you're into MDI, or if you're into Mythic Plus pushing, this is a really good changes. Really good stuff. Let's get into it. Lot of changes. Lots and lots of good changes. There's some raid changes too, which I'm excited for too, because some of these bosses, like my guild's progressing on pretty quickly. Or relatively soon. But let's talk about them. So, Plaguefall, Sanguine Depths, Spires of Ascension, and Necrotic Wake. Those are the biggest, those are the dungeons that are affected, but some of these changes are actually really, really good. So first off, Plaguefall, Margrave, Stradama, pretty much the hardest part of the entire fight, or the entire dungeon that is the final phase, and it's getting nerfed. Plaguebound Devoted. These guys now have 40% health reduce, which is good because sometimes you would actually not be able to push the boss fast enough. Reduce the cast frequency of Infectious Rain during her final phase. This is so huge because you literally saved Bloodlust or Time Warp for the last phase of the fight. Like, you needed Bloodlust there because
it's raining sideways.
There's just so much raid damage going out. All the ads are spawning. You have Infectious Rain stacking up on people. You need to prioritize using immunities if your class has immunities, healing cooldowns, defensives. Like, you have to have everything up in really high keys for this fight on the last final phase because of this. And now it's reducing the effective or the Infectious Rain frequency, how fast it's getting cast. This is good. Slightly adjusted the timing of Plaguecraft so there's little more time between tentacles left. This is another good change. The tentacles, some of the tentacle spawns that happen, like the patterns, that's the word, some of the tentacle patterns were really, really hard to move between the safe spots and the non-safe spots because the tentacles would just come down way too quickly, and a lot of people, even high keys, even the groups that I run with, which are like 19s, 20s, 21 keys, I recently timed to 21 Plaguefall, and that was really fun. We were still getting hit by tentacles. It's like, man, they just come down way too quickly. So this is good. This is a really good change. Off to Sanguine Depths. Probably the hardest dungeon, I'd say, is Sanguine Depths right now. So it's really good to see that they're adjusting this dungeon. Fix an issue where flying chamber sentinels would fail to contribute enemy forces required on Mythic Keystone difficulty. This is like the bats and the gargoyles that are flying through the dungeon. You kind of see them in they're flying over the bridge or like over the center ring. I don't know how to describe it. It's like I'm on my mage right now. So this is good because it's fixing the problem where like they just wouldn't contribute to the enemy forces, which is good because now this is going to open up a lot more routes that you can do, which is kind of neat. Phrixus, the Ferocious. This is a really tough boss at high keys, especially on Tyrannical. Literally an unplayable boss sometimes, depending on your group, on like 20 plus on Tyrannical week. This boss does way too much damage, has way too much health. So they're nerfing it. Severing Smash, damage reduced by 20% on all difficulties. Essence Absorption, the orbs that spawn when he does the Severing Smash, damage reduced by 20% on Mythic difficulty. This is really freaking good. Executor Tarvold, Fleeting Manifestation, health reduced by 20%. A little ad that it spawns that needs to be focused down. That's what this is right here. So this is good. Nice nerf. Good job. Spires of Ascension. Slight changes here. They don't really matter as much. Actually, that's a lie. This doesn't really matter as much. The first change. The second change is where it's huge. So, okay. So the mini bosses at the end of the dungeon, Klotos, Lakesys, Astronos, are no longer affected by Mythic Keystone affixes that triggered on death, aka Sanguine, Spiteful, Bolstering, and Not only that, but the oppression ability now increases damage taken by 1% per application. Was 2%. So this is a huge nerf. You can take this ad a lot slower. You can now do more double pulls. Like some groups are actually pulling these two together. And now this change actually makes that much more viable on higher keys. That's really good. That's a really good change. Amazing. Good job. The Necrotic Wake. This is the biggest one. There's a lot, as you can see. So when Bloody Javelin Discharge Anima hits more than 8 enemies, the total damage is distributed evenly across all targets. This is a little bit of a nerf. I mean, like, I did a Necrotic Wake earlier. I'm pretty sure this is a little bit of a nerf. I did a Necrotic Wake earlier, and we pulled, like, 3 packs together. We lusted, and we threw a Javelin into, what was it, 21 Necrotic Wake. We'll roll the clip. We'll roll the clip, and you guys can see what we did with our pull. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, we did that pull. We used the Bloody Javelin on the Rogue, which also, if he's running the Master Stealth, Master Assassin, Legendary, I don't know the one it is, but when you're in Stealth, you gain 100% increased critical strike chance on all of your abilities, all of your activated abilities for the next like 4 seconds, and then if you vanish and reset it, it's good. So Rogues are really, really good for using the weapons in Necrotic Wake. So we used Bloody Javelin there, and it melted them. Not only that, but Discharge Anima. The orb, it melted them. Securian ornaments now persist through death. This is absolutely massive. This is a game changer. You can now gain weapons and do death runs if you need to. Some guilds or some groups will not be able to get past this necromancer right here. Either they don't have a stealth, maybe they don't have invis pots, right? So like they can pull everything else, grab these spears right here, and then just run up into the boss. And they save time, even if they don't have a shroud, even if there's no rogue in the group. Because now your ornaments are persisting through death. You can do death runs. That's awesome. That is so good. Brittlebone Crossbowman. Damage reduced by 20%. That is these guys right here. They were doing so much damage. The necromancers that spawn, these guys, the crossbowmen actually did ridiculous amounts of damage. They were really, really tough. They also nerfed the warriors. They do reduce damage. The mages, the frostbolt volleys, it reduces the damage by 20%, and cast time increased to 3.5 seconds from 2.5. Frostbolt, same thing. 2.5 seconds from 2 seconds. This is a huge nerf to the Brittlebone Mage. That's so good, because if you did not CC them and you didn't have enough interrupts in your group, you could very easily wipe on a Necromancer. Very, very easily. Corpse Harvester health reduced by 20. I know it says that, but that's this mob right over here. These guys. Health reduced by 29%. The Vanguards. Health reduced by 14%. These guys as well. I understand. These guys actually have usually a lot more HP than the Corpse Harvester. Oh, well, they're around the same. They're around the same, actually, based on the difficulty. But this is really good because Corpse Harvesters were lasting a lot longer than Stitch Vanguards, because usually you want to focus down the Vanguard because it has like a meat shield, which is just a big shield absorption. So it's really, really good that they nerfed that. And the Corpse Collector. So there's one... Corpse Collectors upstairs. One right here. Another one right here. Another one right here. Right? And then you have the Flesh Crafters that throw the axes. So the Corpse Collectors, health reduced by 29%. This is really good because those guys are quite scary too. Not only do they do Harvest Soul or whatever it's called, the Corpse Harvest ability, but they also do Gore Splatter, which if it's not interrupted, like it does a huge amount of party damage. It's massive, so that's really great. Narzuda's health reduced by 20%. That's the mini boss downstairs. That is the scary mini boss that nobody ever pulls. Up until this week, I've never pulled this mini boss. But we did this pull right here. Our tank invised and went across and pulled these martyrs back, and then we used an orb that we have found right over here near the dead golem next to the bell. We pulled Narzuda. Its health's getting reduced by 20%. That's awesome. That's going to make this mini boss a lot more viable to pull as an enemy forces. Skeletal monstrosities also reduced by 20%, and melee damage reduced by 25%. That's this guy right here, the guy that pats. I've pulled him before. He's not that scary, honestly, but this nerf to him is going to be really big. Loyal Creation, health reduced by 24%. That's upstairs. These guys right here. They also do a kind of like a big AoE cleave ability that can be interrupted with a stun. Tyrian Stitchwork, health reduced by 20%, and melee damage reduced by 70%. This is absolutely huge. This is probably one of the best changes in the dungeon because these Kyrian Stitchworks were such a freaking problem. They did so much damage. They, like, you had to have cooldowns. You had to constantly focus target them. I'm so glad that they're actually nerfing this dungeon because if you do not have a good group, Necrotic Wake is probably one of the hardest dungeons. If you don't have a competent tank, if you don't have good heals, if you don't have good DPS, like, you don't have any good players in your group, you can't do any dungeon. But Necrotic Wake was probably one of the worst. All these changes are so freaking good. And Blightbone, the Carrion Worms. Blood Gorge ability, applications triggered the Carrion Eruption. Increased to 5 instead of 3. This is also huge because it saves you a lot of time. Sometimes you wanted to just focus Blightbone down instead of the worms that he spawned. And this is going to give you a lot more leeway. That's amazing. Amarth, reduce the range the skeletons are summoned during Land of the Dead. This is huge. This is huge as well because if you have short kicks in your group like Shaman kicks and you're trying to kick in the mages to DPS them down, sometimes the mages will only walk a few steps and then start casting again because the lockout time on Wind Shear is only 2 seconds. So this is really, really good for that kind of situation. Unholy Frenzy, attack speed bonus reduced by 20%. This is good, but if you have a Soothe in your group, like a mage, a hunter, a rogue that can shiv the boss, Unholy Frenzy is usually not really a problem, but if you don't have those classes in your group, like this is a nice amount of tank damage reduction. Reanimated Warrior, Crossbowmen, Mages. They receive the same nerfs that the Necromancer Brittle Bones received, so that's really, really good. That's awesome changes across the board for Amarth. This was probably one of the more difficult parts of the dungeon, was this boss fight, so that's awesome. Very well done. And Surgeon Stiff Sledge. We didn't really need to change a whole lot for this boss fight. It was pretty well balanced. As long as you got all 3 of your first 3 hooks on the boss, so like the first on the boss, the second when he was about to use his fixate ability, and the third needs to be pointed at the stage again so that when he jumps he gets pulled right back down and you can finish him off. So Embalming Ichor, the duration reduced to 1 minute was 6 minutes. This is good because it's actually going to clear up a lot of the floor space, which sometimes was a problem depending on how long you were fighting this boss. Usually if you're doing it correctly, this boss does not last very long, but some groups do have difficulties with it, so this is a nice change. Over to Castle Nathria. Lot of boss changes. The biggest ones, I think, in my opinion, are going to be the Sludge Fist and Stone Legion. So obviously let's talk about Council of Blood, where my guild is currently progressing, but we're on the last boss of the Council of Blood. None of these changes are affecting my guild's progression, unfortunately. Dreadbolt Volley damage reduced by up to 20% in smaller raid sizes, and Raid Finder normal heroic difficulties damage will remain the same in 30+ player raids. This is a good change, because obviously, the smaller the raid size is, the same damage that's going out. What the heck? We don't have as many healers, right? So this is a good change. Drain Essence, damage reduced by 20% in smaller raid sizes. Again, this is to help with the healing intensity of that fight. And Dark Recital, duration reduced to 6 seconds on normal and heroic difficulties was 7. This is good. This is good, especially for pug groups. Those are good changes. Sludge Fist, Colossal Roar, Chain Slam, and Chain Bleed. All of its damage has been reduced on Mythic difficulty. This is great because of a lot of guilds are actually progressing on Council of Blood, Sludge Fist, and Stone Legion right now. A lot more guilds, and this is also going to help the Alliance guilds that haven't killed Denathrius yet for the first 100. Because once we get the Alliance guilds to kill the Denathrius, first 100, then maybe we'll actually open up cross-realm mythic rating. Okay. Good Sludge Fist nerfs. Stone Legion Generals. Health reduced by 10% on mythic difficulty. That's huge. Absolutely. Stone Legion Goliaths. Ravenous Feast. When they charge on your face and start melting it, cooldown increased by 6 seconds on mythic difficulty. This is good. Happens less frequently. Stone Legion Skirmishers. Health reduced by 6% on mythic difficulties. You know the skirmishers that are like the female version of the gargoyles and like they'll flap their wings and try and blow everybody off of the ledge? The health reduced by 6%. This is good. This is going to help guilds kind of like finish off those skirmishers as they're falling off the ledges, off the platform. That's good. Serrated Swipe, Serrated Tear, and Stone Fist range increased to 100 yards was 10 and 20 yards. Okay. Serrated Tear and Stone Fist damage reduced by 20% on mythic difficulty. This is huge. That's good. A lot less tank damage coming out. A lot less raid damage coming out. Heart Ren's range increased to 300 yards was 10 yards. Heart Ren no longer applies Heart Hemorrhage to the players who dispelled the magic effect on mythic difficulty. Nice. General Call and General Grishal spell cooldowns now reset with phase changes. Interesting. And Volatile Stone Shell Absorb Shield decreased by 20% on mythic difficulty. That's huge. This is the commandos, like the male version of essentially the skirmishers that you have to kill within the ad phase, and they pop up a shield on them, and if the shield countdown timer runs out, then the raid wipes essentially. So you have to kill these shielded gargoyles quickly. Reduce the shield absorption by 20% on mythic difficulty. That is also awesome. A lot of really good changes for both mythic, raid, and dungeons coming this week. Hopefully we're going to see a lot more Sanguine Depths done on Tyrannical. And oh my god, these changes are just so well done. They're actually kind of paying attention to the dungeon scene a lot more this expansion, so I'm really happy to see that all these balancing tuning changes are happening, especially for PvP too. If you guys didn't see the PvP tuning changes, I recommend going and checking those out on Wowhead. But this is awesome. I'm going to leave the link to this Wowhead article down below. Hopefully you guys like the video. Subscribe for more Shaman content as well as Shadowlands content in the future. Like the video if you like it. Until next time. Oh, wait. Come to my twitch.tv/Barokoshama Twitch page to catch me live Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Usually stream in the mornings, EST time. Keep calm and Maelstrom on. Bye-bye.